Good afternoon or good evening, Eric. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Well, kind of just want a little feedback from you. A little Q&A real fast in regards to your story was aired on Nightly News on Friday with Lester Holt. We
Yeah.
want to first give a major shout out to Meek Mills for using his platform to open up the doors for individuals like you. So,
Yeah.
you got about 2,000 comments. 99.9% of them were all positive. What do you think, and how do you feel, and what's next?
Well, the program airing on Nightly News was definitely a blessing. That was a program that went nationwide, went all over the United States. And again, it's testimony that justice is in season, like I always say. And when something is in season, no matter who or what try to stop it, it can't be stopped.
Right.
So I'm just thankful that justice is in season, because my situation, my injustice is a 26-and-a-half-year injustice, and I feel every bit of it. But I definitely want to thank the whole NBC crew, Lester Holt, for having the courage to address this issue. Definitely Meek Mills. Brother is a man of his word, and again, it takes courage. See, and he's setting an example. A powerful example. And that example is this. See, he could have been politically correct. He could have stayed politically correct and just enjoyed the fruits of the labor of his artistry, him being a rapper. But he chose to step into the political field and to use his platform in a way that those that benefit off of injustice discourage. They discourage artists to use their platform, in that type of way. So I got to definitely give him a salute. And he is a man of his word, and he definitely added to the momentum that we had already established through rallies and protests and so forth.
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Chester. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
It's just a real blessing, and again, it's testimony to the spirit of the people and true reality that the power is truly with the people.
Right.
Just think about this. The average folk, the common folk, the grassroots, we did this, and that bear witness to the fact that, the power is with the people. And it's the people that put politicians in office, put judges in office, and so forth. Criminal justice reform is something that we must take serious, because we have a judicial system, we have a criminal justice system that, for whatever reason, or for many reasons, have taken the concept of justice and put it secondary to concepts that's less in value. My case, the Creator brought my case to the forefront because there's so much of a blatant disregard for truth, a blatant disregard for justice, that this is the perfect case to expose the defects in the criminal justice system that demands reform. Anytime you have a case where you have judges, now keep in mind, not just any judges, but judges that the people put on the bench to do one thing and one thing only. That's to dispense justice in situations that require it. So now you have a judicial system, a criminal justice system now that's saying, okay, although the people put us in office to dispense justice, we can't do it because statutes put time limitations on truth.
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Chester. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
In my case, you have two judges. First of all, you have three judges. Even the PCRA court, Judge Cooperman, also said that the evidence in my case is most likely exculpatory, meaning it proves innocent. But then the Superior Court, the president judge in the Superior Court, Judge Bender, in a concurrent statement with a former Pennsylvania Supreme Court judge, Judge Fitzgerald, literally stated in a court document in response to the evidence in my case that first of all they wanted to voice their utmost displeasure with the PCRA court's failure to facilitate justice in this case, where it is clear to all that an innocent man is likely in prison for no better reason than a poorly conceived statute. Not that he's in prison because he's guilty. You know, so think about that. Think about that. You know, this is why the people have to realize that we do have the power. The courts is going to do what the people's advocacy compels them to do. The moment that the people fall asleep, then the infamy in these institutions is going to prevail. But the moment that the people become dissatisfied, right, and start organizing at a grassroots level, right, this is the results that's going to continue to come forward. But my case is not the only case. There's a multitude of individuals in prison, you know. So I want to thank everybody for their support. I want to thank Lester Hawk and everybody that was involved in that process. Dan from NBC, Councilman O, State Rep McClinton, you know. And what's next is that, you know, I implore, I ask that everybody, one way or the other, whether through text, email, letters, you know, taking, you know, physical bodies, going down to the district attorney's office, everyone contact the district attorney's office. You know, we have a district attorney right now that's in tune with the concept of reform and in tune with the concept of justice, Larry Krasner. So I just ask everybody contact Larry Krasner and keep this in mind. Larry Krasner have activated a special unit in the district attorney's office called the Conviction Integrity Unit, which is activated to take a second look at convictions that they have questions about. Now, my case is just one of those cases where there is no doubt that something is wrong with my case, you know. And the law states that anytime you have a situation like that, at the bare minimum, a new trial has to be ordered so that we won't risk keeping an innocent man in prison. And again, it's been over 26 years. As far as the comments, you read some of the powerful comments. All of them was inspiring, strong, and it's just, again, a reflection of, you know, the momentum of the people. The people is powerful. We just have to come together, right, and no longer act like crabs in a barrel trying to pull each other down. We must lift each other up, and we can get so much more done. You know, those individuals that, you know, the small amount of individuals that may have had negative comments, some was doing it for legitimate reasons. You know, they may not know the situation, and they saw a life was lost, and there was a life was lost in this situation. And though I am innocent of this crime, you know, I never want no one to forget that a man lost his life named William Catlett. You know, I grew up with him. He was my first best friend, right? And I loved him like a brother. Anybody that was there with us would tell you that I loved him as a brother. He loved me as a brother, you know. And that's the most hurtful thing with me, is the fact that I was falsely accused of taking the life of someone that I literally consider my brother. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the painful part when it comes to this situation with me. The primary painful part is that factor right there, you know. But let me say this before you go. You know, let us all remember him, because at the end of the day, you know, although we all grew up together, a lot of us, when we was doing the things that we was doing, Will Catlett was working. He always had a job. When we didn't graduate from high school, William Catlett graduated from the most prestigious high school in Philadelphia, Bach High School, right? And it's sad, you know what I mean, that the madness in the streets, the same madness that's going on today, madness that we're going to have to address and correct at some point, you know, and so that all the victims, those that lost their life in the subculture of self-destruction, won't die in vain.
Right.
You know, all those that have participated in that lifestyle that have since changed, we have to address it. We have to go back so that we won't produce another generation of victimizers and victims. You understand what I'm saying? So, again, I just wanted to say that real briefly, that only thing I'll tell those that don't know is follow the truth. You know what I mean? Follow the truth. I made a statement earlier about how self-hate don't require the concept of truth. You know what I mean? You can have abundance of truth, 100% truth, exonerating a black man, right? But if you, or white man, whatever the race is, in this case we're dealing with black folks, but you can have 100% evidence pointing to truth. But if someone is suffering from self-hate, they're going to disregard the proof and they're going to disregard the truth. You know what I'm saying? They're going to find reason to justify leaving that individual hanging on the noose, whether the noose is from a tree or whether it's a noose of a wrongful conviction. So the only thing I would say is follow the truth. And if you find yourself still disregarding the truth and calling for the lynching of an innocent black man, then question yourself. Am I suffering from self-hate to the point where I'm disregarding the concept of truth and facts and evidence? That's all I would say, and just realize the power is with the people. We live in a beautiful time. We don't have to live like that no more.
Yeah, it's time to. It's time. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's time to break the cycle.
Yes.
And it's time to stop the violence.
Absolutely. And think about that. We turn on the news every day. It's been a consistent amount of murders in our communities for the last 30 years. We have to address that. And those that lived in them areas and lived under those conditions, we have become experts through experience. They can't go to college, Yale College or Harvard, and send somebody in our community to address the issues that's going on in the community. Only those that have lived in those communities, those that bear the scars from living under that self-destructive subculture, can address those issues. And we obligated to everybody that lost their lives, everybody that lost their life to gun violence in the community. We obligated those of us that participated in that lifestyle, lived in that under those conditions. We obligated to address it and to fix it. This is one of the reasons why I stay in contact with the young brothers from 58th Street and young brothers, period, in these institutions. I stay in contact with them because I have an obligation to them to try to pass on what the old heads gave me, that fixed me, that destroyed that self-hate.
You have 1 minute left.
I may have suffered from. Because you have to, that's one thing about that's one thing that we have to acknowledge regarding the foundation of self-destructive behavior. At the root of it is the concept called self-hate. So these old heads in these institutions had to teach us how to love ourselves. And then we no longer want to hurt ourselves, or we no longer want to hurt people that look like us outside of ourselves. So no longer do we have the inclination to hurt our people. We want to save our people. So with that, I hope I answered the questions. I want everybody to keep their head up, stay strong. Understand that we come from a legacy of rising out of the ashes like the phoenix. We are the phoenix that rises from the ashes of struggle. So this obstacle that I'm going through is one out of many that we have overcame. And if you're going through a struggle, keep your head up and know that you're connected to a bloodline that meet and overcome.
Thank you for using